Hello, my name is Jim Franklin. A couple of weeks ago I put up a YouTube video on my channel of a piece called Quick-Edge Sounds3 for shakuhachi and what I called my Bastl Mini-Modular synthesizer. A few people have asked me about the Bastl Mini-Modular synthesizer, so I'm now going to do a quick, totally unscripted, extemporised walk through my Bastl Mini-Modular synthesizer and how I used it in that piece. Please note I am not affiliated with Bastl in any way, I just like their instruments. So this is what I call my Bastl Mini-Modular synthesizer. A lot of the units are not necessarily the latest units that you can get, but they're useful. So the core of it is a SoftPop version 1 here, and a Kastle 1.5 and a Kastle BDrum. In addition, we have here a small effects processor. Actually supposed to be a guitar rhythm phrase trainer, but it's actually got a lot of useful effects in it, and it's very small. And surprisingly, a small Korg chromatic tuner. The chromatic tuner isn't going to be used further in this piece to show you, but just what it does, it's been circuit bent so that instead of having a speaker, its little loudspeaker, it now has a signal output which can be used to provide a very clean, precise, square wave output at particular frequencies that can be used within the modular system if one wants for frequency modulation, for instance, of an oscillator or filter cutoff or something like that. But I'm not using it in that way in this piece. What I am using is centered around the SoftPop. Now, the SoftPop has its little secret chamber at the back in which you can cut out most of the internal feedback loops and cross modulations and so on, so that it behaves more or less like a miniature modular synthesizer with its own little miniature patch bay, which is here. Hooked up to that in various ways, I've got the other two Bastl modules. So in a previous video I gave an explanation of some of the well, not circuit bending, but additional patching that I've done with the Kastles. So I'm not going to go into too much detail of that. But what is actually happening here is that the Kastle is being used as a source, not of a signal in this piece, but of a rather random, semi-random, and totally wonderfully unreliable random control voltage, which is being used to control, in this case, the pitch of an oscillator in the SoftPop. More about that in a minute. The BDrum is being used in a way which I'm sure the people at Bastl never really thought it was going to be used. I'm actually using it to provide a short, sharp attack, more or less triangle wave, with random frequencies, again using the Wrangler circuit in the BDrum to create a controlled randomness. And that is being used to frequency modulate the filter frequency in the SoftPop. How this is connected, using the A, B and C inputs on the back of the SoftPop, you can actually get up to 6 lines in or out from the SoftPop. One of them is being used as the main output circuit, so that's where it's going to an amplifier or a recording device, in this case recording device, via what I have here is an attenuator, so that I can turn it up or down, and a switch so that I could actually create what's missing. I can create envelopes by hand. So if I just start with, let's say a simple signal, turn it up, and here we have, it's actually VCO2 from the SoftPop, which I tend to use more than VCO1 because VCO1, I don't like the sound that comes from the quantizing circuitry, which doesn't get cut out entirely, even when you're not using it in that mode. Now, what we get is that. Now, if I turn the switch off, nothing. So switch on, I can get a drone. Press button, it's a push on and off switch, so I can actually create an envelope by hand if I want to. I'm not actually using that in this piece either. What I am using is this signal, which is then being modulated in various ways. So this is VCO, what's called VCO1 in the SoftPop. This is the modulation input. Now it's being connected directly to the output, more or less directly, of the stepped output of the Wrangler circuit in the Kastle, going via simply a long patch cable to the modulation input. With a degree of randomness to it. So the signal is coming from the SoftPop, but the modulation, this random more or less sample and hold modulation, is coming from the Kastle. Now, if I take the envelope right out, not the envelope, the filter frequency right out, the next thing that I have modulating here is again from the Kastle, the LFO, which at the moment is switched so that it's a sawtooth wave, is going to be used. To modulate the filter frequency, so that it now has a kind of envelope with it as well. And of course I can change the rates and the degrees of randomness using the controls on the Kastle, because that's where the modulating signal is coming from. That signal, by the way, is going in via one of the back connectors and then being connected. Oops, yeah, sometimes the little patch cables are a little bit tricky. That's being connected here. Now, in addition to that, I've got an additional modulation source coming in from the BDrum. Now, this is actually an audio signal being produced by the BDrum, which is then going to be used to modulate the filter. Now, don't forget that the filter, at the moment, get rid of all the modulation of everything. This is now just a simple waveform. If I use an attenuator, which I have on the output of the BDrum, to turn up the audio signal coming from it, I'm getting this. So this is just the cutoff frequency of the filter. I'm using the low-pass filter, by the way. Cutoff frequency of the filter being modulated to create a form of filter FM. Now, if I add a little bit of the enveloping from the Kastle into the filter, if I slow this all down a bit. So this is now we're hearing mainly the frequency modulation of the filter. I can change the pitch of that, by the way, because I have a voltage source from the BDrum being set via an attenuator to change the frequency or the pitch of the signal. Now, if I add some effects onto this as well, let's put some delay in chorus. Now, things can also become a little bit more interesting as well if we start playing around with settings on the Kastle, so that if I set this now so that instead of being a sawtooth wave from the LFO, it becomes a triangle wave. I can start to get some interesting textures going on. So the point of this is that it's possible to interconnect the devices using their internal patching and also the patch bay and the connectivity of the SoftPop in order to create actually a quite complex little synthesizer, which has the big advantage for me of being battery operated and portable, because I like things that are small, portable, and that I can carry around with about the same ease as my shakuhachi, my bamboo flute. If you're interested in hearing the piece that derived from this, listen to Quick-Edge Sounds3 on my YouTube channel, which uses exactly this setup as the background. The foreground instrument is shakuhachi. This is providing a fairly sparse background to it. But it might be interesting, so please enjoy.